In 1915, as British and French soldiers fought desperately in the muddy trenches of the Western Front, something extraordinary happened that would forever change the nature of close combat. A seemingly simple object that looked more like a household utensil than a lethal weapon began flying over the heads of Allied soldiers, exploding with a precision and range that defied everything they knew about trench warfare. The Germans had created something that seemed impossible, a grenade that could be thrown with the accuracy of a spear and the range of a rifle, transforming every ordinary soldier into a long-range destruction machine. What made this even more disturbing was its innocuous appearance. Allied soldiers reported in letters home that the enemy was throwing potato peelers at them, without understanding that they were witnessing the birth of a tactical revolution that would completely redefine the rules of close combat. This was not just another weapon, it was the harbinger of a fundamental transformation in military psychology and strategy that would echo through decades of conflict. The steel hand granate represented a completely revolutionary design philosophy that challenged centuries of traditional military thought. While other nations focused on creating compact spherical grenades that fit in the palm of the hand, German engineers did something counterintuitive. They attached a 15-inch wooden handle to a cylindrical explosive head, creating a weapon that measured nearly 2 feet in total length. This seemingly odd decision was based on principles of applied physics that other armies had completely overlooked. The handle functioned as a lever, allowing ordinary soldiers to achieve throwing distances of up to 130 feet, almost double the range of conventional grenades of the time. But the true genius lay in the friction ignition system. Unlike grenades that required complex percussion mechanisms, the steel hand granate used a simple cord that, when pulled, created a spark through friction, initiating a 4.5-second fuse. German soldiers discovered they could prepare multiple grenades simultaneously, creating a coordinated barrage that devastated enemy positions before defenders could adequately react. The psychological impact of the steel hand granate on Allied troops was as devastating as its physical effect, creating a phenomenon that military commanders initially completely underestimated. British field reports from 1916 documented a disturbing pattern. Experienced soldiers, veterans of multiple battles, began developing specific anxiety related to the characteristic sound of the wooden handle cutting through the air. Lieutenant James Morrison, of the 2nd Lancashire Battalion, wrote in his diary, "The peculiar whistling of these damned things is unlike any projectile we know. You can hear them coming for whole seconds, knowing that death is flying your way, but without being able to determine exactly where it will land." This psychological torture was amplified by the weapon's visual design. Its elongated and unusual silhouette created a sense of strangeness that disturbed soldiers accustomed to the comforting familiarity of conventional weapons. Military doctors began reporting cases of grenade neurosis, specifically related to the steel hand granate, where soldiers developed involuntary tremors upon hearing any sound similar to wood cutting through the air, even in completely safe situations far from the front. The tactical superiority of the steel hand granate became glaringly evident during the Battle of Verdun, where German statistics revealed a combat effectiveness that shocked even their own commanders. Post-battle analyses showed that German soldiers equipped with steel hand granaten could neutralize machine gun positions at distances that were considered impossible for grenade combat. The long handle not only allowed for more precise throws, but also enabled completely new combat techniques. Soldiers could hold the grenade by the handle and use it as an improvised club in close combat before activating the ignition mechanism and throwing it. German military records documented that a single section of 8 men, properly trained with steel hand granaten, could suppress and eventually capture trenches defended by up to 30 enemy soldiers. Obergefreiter Hans Müller reported in an intercepted letter, "With these grenades, we have become gods of war. We can reach the enemy where he thinks he is safe, and our accuracy is such that we rarely waste ammunition." This tactical advantage forced the Allies to completely rethink their defensive strategies, abandoning positions that had been considered impregnable for months. The manufacturing process of the steel hand granate revealed a German industrial approach that combined ingenious simplicity with mass production efficiency, dramatically contrasting with the complex methods used by other nations. While British and French grenades required sophisticated metallurgical precision and multiple manufactured components, the steel hand granate could be produced using relatively basic materials and techniques. The explosive head was made of simple cast iron, molded into sections that fragmented predictably, while the handle was cut from common beechwood, abundant in German forests. The friction ignition mechanism used only 5 main components: a cord, a percussion cap, ignition powder, a timed fuse, and a small amount of abrasive material. German factories could produce up to 50,000 units per day using semi-skilled workers, including women and teenagers, while the production of equivalent Allied grenades required specialized artisans and much more time-consuming processes. This production advantage meant that German soldiers often carried 6 to 8 steel hand granaten per man, while Allied soldiers rarely had more than 2 to 3 conventional grenades. The evolution of the steel hand granate during World War I demonstrated a German capacity for continuous innovation that maintained its tactical superiority even when the Allies tried to develop countermeasures. The initial 1915 version weighed 1.3 pounds and contained 5.6 ounces of explosive, but by 1917, design improvements had reduced the weight to 1.1 pounds while increasing the explosive charge to 6.2 ounces. German engineers discovered that subtle modifications to the shape of the explosive head could direct fragmentation more effectively, creating a shrapnel pattern that maximized damage within a 30-foot radius. Even more impressive was the bundling technique. German soldiers learned to tie multiple steel hand granaten together, creating improvised explosive charges capable of destroying fortified bunkers. Hauptmann Friedrich Weber documented, "We found that 6 grenades tied together can breach concrete walls 3 feet thick. Our men have become instant demolition engineers." This tactical flexibility was impossible with conventional grenades, which could not be easily combined due to their spherical shape and complex ignition mechanisms. German training with the steel hand granate developed a completely new tactical doctrine that transformed ordinary infantry soldiers into precision combat specialists at medium distances. German military manuals from 1916 detailed specific techniques that took advantage of the weapon's unique characteristics: the pendulum throw, where the soldier used the handle as a pendulum to generate additional angular momentum; the precision throw, which involved aiming using the handle as an improvised sight; and the sequential bombardment, where multiple soldiers coordinated their throws to create a continuous barrage. German soldiers practiced until they could hit window-sized targets at distances of 100 feet with 80% consistency. Unteroffizier Klaus Richter wrote in his training manual, "The steel hand granate is not just a weapon. It is an extension of the soldier's arm, a precision tool that requires the same discipline and practice as a rifle." This training philosophy contrasted drastically with the Allied approach, where grenades were considered weapons of last resort, used mainly in desperate situations. Germans transformed the use of grenades from a defensive tactic into a coordinated offensive strategy. The Allied response to the steel hand granate threat revealed both the magnitude of its impact and the limitations of traditional military thinking of the time. British and French commanders initially attempted conventional countermeasures, increasing the thickness of trench protections, developing helmets more resistant to fragmentation, and training soldiers to take cover more quickly. However, these defensive solutions proved inadequate against a weapon that could reach positions previously considered safe. In 1917, the Allies finally began developing their own stick grenades, but faced significant challenges. The British Mills bomb with an attached handle weighed 2.1 pounds, almost double the steel hand granate, and its percussion ignition mechanism was less reliable in combat conditions. French attempts to copy the German design resulted in weapons that often failed due to inferior material quality and lack of understanding of the underlying engineering principles. General Sir Douglas Haig admitted in private correspondence, "We completely underestimated the psychological and tactical impact of this German weapon. Our men face an enemy that can attack them at distances we considered safe, and this has fundamentally changed the dynamics of trench combat." World War II witnessed the evolution of the steel hand granate into its most refined form, the Model 24, which incorporated decades of combat experience and technological innovations that made it even more lethal and versatile. The new version weighed only 1.2 pounds, but contained a more potent TNT explosive charge that created an effective fragmentation radius of 45 feet. The handle was redesigned with grooves for better grip, and the ignition mechanism was improved to function in extreme temperatures, from the deserts of Africa to the brutal cold of the Russian front. German Wehrmacht soldiers developed even more sophisticated techniques: the ricochet throw, where the grenade was deliberately bounced off walls or obstacles to reach enemies in protected positions; and the grenade rain, a coordinated tactic where entire platoons simultaneously threw steel hand granaten to saturate a specific area. American veterans of D-Day reported that the distinctive sound of steel hand granaten flying over the beaches of Normandy created a psychological terror that rivaled artillery bombardment. Sergeant Robert Thompson, of the 1st Infantry Division, recalled, "You could hear these things coming, and you knew you had only seconds to find cover. It was like facing a deadly rain that could reach you anywhere." The enduring legacy of the steel hand granate extends far beyond its direct military impact, having fundamentally altered weapon design philosophy and close combat doctrine that persist to this day. Its influence can be seen in modern grenades like the Russian RGD-5 and the American M67, which incorporated aerodynamic and ergonomic principles pioneered by the German design. More significantly, the steel hand granate established the concept of individual force multiplier, the idea that an ordinary soldier, properly equipped, could exert tactical influence disproportionate to their size or position. This philosophy influenced the development of modern grenade launchers, portable weapon systems, and even contemporary military drones. Modern military analyses recognize that the steel hand granate was a precursor to a revolution in asymmetric warfare, demonstrating how design innovation could overcome conventional numerical or technological advantages. General George S. Patton, known for his brutal frankness, admitted in his memoirs, "The Germans taught us that war is not won just by those who have more men or tanks, but by those who think more intelligently about how each individual soldier can maximize their lethal impact." Today, when we observe modern conflicts where small units use advanced technology to overcome superior conventional forces, we are witnessing the direct evolution of the tactical principles established by a simple wooden-handled grenade over a century ago.